I'm Chef Rosie and welcome to my gourmet kitchen. Well, I'm not really a chef and this really isn't a gourmet kitchen, but we are going to cook some good food today. And what we're going to teach you today is how to make homemade fresh pasta. Now, homemade fresh pasta is one of those intimidating foods that people just think is too difficult to make, and it really is not. Very few ingredients, very few pieces of equipment to make it. It's just very simple to make, and let's get right to it. And start with 1 cup of flour. I'll put that right in my mixer, and about 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Now, even if you're restricting your salt intake, you need 1/4 teaspoon at least because it helps activate the gluten in the flour, which is really important for making anything like pasta. Now turn this on and let that flour and salt mix together. You need 1 egg. Two tablespoons of olive oil. Olive oil makes such a rich pasta. And you're going to start with 2 tablespoons of water. The recipe actually calls for 2 to 4 tablespoons of water, but because we don't know how the flour is going to react to the liquids, we start with just 2 and add as we need it. So you mix those liquids up. We're going to dump it all right in there. And using this spatula, we're going to mix the flour in with the liquids. It should start to form up into a dough pretty quickly once the liquids and the flour mix. And I can see that it probably needs a little bit more water right now, although it is a nice soft dough yet. We want to make sure that it stays that way. So I'm going to put about another tablespoon in. And I use the spatula to make sure that it's mixing in with the beaters. Those dough hooks on this beater you can see, are making it nice and forming a nice dough ball. And as it beats it up like that, it's actually kneading it for me. And kneading the pasta dough is really important because you're stretching those gluten strands out, and that's what makes the pasta nice and tender. When you're making pasta with a mixer like this, you want it to knead for about 2 to 3 minutes. That's sufficient to make a nice, soft, elastic dough. Let some of it out a little bit. Now we'll take the dough out, we'll form it into a nice ball. You can see how nice and elastic it is. Really nice. This dough's a little too soft, but it'll start to stiffen up a little bit as it rests. And resting is the next thing it needs to do. It's really important to rest your pasta dough for at least 15 minutes, but no more than 30 minutes. And the reason you do that is because we've stretched the gluten in the beaters. Now we want it to relax so it'll go through the mixer easily enough, the cutter easily enough. So I happen to have a piece that has been resting for 15 minutes, and we'll use that to show you how to cut the pasta. I only need a small piece, and because you don't need the whole big ball. And I want to flour my work surface a little bit, just so that it doesn't stick to anything. When I'm done cutting the pasta, I'm going to put it on the cookie sheet, and it's going to sit here for about an hour to dry. So I'll get that ready. And I shape the ball of pasta into something like a rectangle. And the reason I do that is because then it comes out like a rectangle at the end after the rollers on the pasta machine have cut it clearly. So I'm going to roll the pasta. The pasta machine starts with a setting of 1 and works to a setting of 7, 7 being the thinnest. So it keeps moving the pasta thinner and thinner. And you can see how nice and thin that is already. Now I'll continue to do this for 4 or 5 passes till I get to the thickness that I really want it. And I like it as a thickness of 6. Thickness of 7 is more like angel hair pasta. And for me, it's a little too difficult to work with at that point. So you can see already that making pasta is not difficult. We haven't even spent 5 minutes, and we're already got nice thin sheets of pasta that we can use to make spaghetti with. 'Cause, 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 Now that this is rolled out as thin as I want it, I'm going to put a little bit of flour on it so that when it goes through the cutters, it doesn't stick to the cutters. I'm also going to cut this in half because it's just easier to handle when you're using it in the cutters that way. This is a very simple task for one person to do. You don't need more than one person making the pasta, but if you had an extra pair of hands, it certainly wouldn't hurt. I like to take the thicker end that I cut off, put it in the roller first, and as you can see, out comes some beautiful thin pasta. Look at those nice strands. Isn't that gorgeous? And these are nicely separated because I floured them before we went in. I put them on the cookie sheet to dry, and I can roll out my next batch. When your dough is the right consistency and you've correctly floured the pasta, it just hangs like that, sort of like a harp in the strings of a harp. I'll lay it on the cookie sheet. I'll sprinkle a little more flour on it. That's just so that it doesn't stick to each other, up to itself, or to the cookie sheet. And that's how you make homemade pasta. It's very simple, it's very quick, and it's so delicious, so much better than the cardboard sticks you buy in the box at the grocery store. So take an afternoon, learn to make some homemade pasta. Join us the next time when maybe we'll make some wonderful sauce to go on top. Have a great day. It was great seeing you.